Hello and welcome to the Car Stories podcast, brought to you by the Peterson Automotive Museum. My name is Kyle Hyatt. My questionably reliable co-host is he's out east again. I think he's back in Jersey with his all Australian Springsteen review or something. But that's okay because I'm here today with Mr. Larry Chin. That name probably sounds pretty familiar to you if you like cars and pictures of cars, because he takes all of them. It seems he's everywhere at once. He's omnipotent, omnipresent. He is the senior editor at Speed Hunters. He does a lot of work with Hoonigan. He does photos of Formula Drift. He does photos of literally everything. And we're psyched to have you here, Larry. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
So it's funny that the whole omnipresent thing that you said recently, my friends just basically came up with this, I guess, theory of how I get to all these places.
Yeah.
Basically, I take a picture and then I transport to where I'm taking a picture.
Oh, I like that.
You know,
Yeah,
and then I appear there, and then I take another picture somewhere really far with a long lens.
Sure.
And then I instantly appear there. That's how I could get so many angles.
That's 100% plausible and totally scientifically sound. I buy it, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, no, it's true. Like, for somebody that's into cars and is on the internet, which is everybody now, pretty much, like you can't kind of go anywhere without seeing your work, which is cool because your work's really good. But kind of, how did you start shooting, and kind of what got you into cars initially? Like, how'd you end up on this weird career path?
You know, I feel like it's pretty much the same story with everyone in this industry, including you probably. It just starts with a love for cars.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough for me a lot of times when people ask me, like, oh, like, what's your... I had someone just ask me, you know, like, what was the turning point?
Mm-hmm.
There was never any, like, one turning point for me. It was just a gradual, you know...
You never had a chance.
Yeah. Just like, you know, getting out of high school, getting into cars, you know, with my buddies, and it's just snowballs from there, you know, like just learning how to drive first, doing autocross, doing time attack, and, you know, tinkering with my own cars.
And did you grow up in Southern California?
I grew up in Santa Monica.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like ground zero.
Pretty much, yeah. So, I mean, like, I came in a little too late, I think, into that whole, I guess, the real Fast and the Furious scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm lucky for me, I'm friends with a lot of people who are around that time of, you know, like that street racing, that street, I guess, early U.S. or JDM car culture kind of thing in SoCal. I came in a little late, but, you know, I feel like I'm lucky that I came in as early as I did.
Yeah.
Into the industry, you know, making friends with people in drifting, in drag racing, and just in the car culture scene in general.
Sure. Right on. So I guess, like, you know, I was in high school kind of when the whole Fast and Furious thing hit. And, you know, I was this like nerdy kid in the Pacific Northwest, just obsessed with car magazines, like import stuff. So, you know, like Sport Compact Car was basically just a stack of them next to my bed, just like, you know, thumbing through like what kind of magazines and publications and stuff got you really excited during that kind of early period?
Without a doubt, Sport Compact Car was my number one read also. You know, I read every one cover to cover, and I'm very lucky to say, you know, that I'm friends with a lot of those guys now, and I work closely with them. Like, you know, for example, Mike Kojima. You know, I followed him, and I think it's the same way with a lot of people, you know, around our age. We followed just that culture about just having fun with your cars. And what was most interesting to me, it was that every car didn't need to be like the race car, you know, 500, 1,000 horsepower. Like, I was just so interested in hey, let's just change the bushings, or let's just see how much horsepower we can get from intake exhaust and like little things. And it just made it so accessible. You know, that's what I really liked about that magazine, as well as like Grassroots Motorsports. And
Definitely that one as well.
Yeah, it was just, it was a golden age, I guess, you know, like everyone remembers that Sport Compact Car cover, the one where they had that Nissan Sentra where they just cut up, made it, I don't know, like it was like a 20-second quarter-mile car or something like that, and made it into a 12-second car, I think.
Yeah, we were really lucky. We, my co-host James and I we ran into Jay Chen, who works for Mazda now, at SEMA last year, and we got to go to Mazda and do an interview and stuff. But like, I remember his sort of like kind of the last guard for sport compact car technical stuff, but that was like meeting a celebrity. Like, I was so excited. Like, I was trying not to like, lose my cool, but I was like, oh my God, this guy wrote for Sport Compact Car. This is amazing. Yeah. It's like trying to dig out my copy. There was one issue that really like kind of blew my mind. It was, I think there was two 510s, orange 510s in the cover, and one of them was a 13B power. And I think one might have been like RB26 or something crazy. But yeah, like, I was like, I got to find it. I know I have it somewhere, but I think it's back in Washington, and I was going to have him sign it. But
yeah, I think reading that magazine really changed the way that I write and the way that I produce stories for Speed Hunters and pretty much every magazine that I worked for, like Hot Rod and Motorhead magazine. Just the style, like, for example, I think there was that issue where they did like the R32 GTR versus Airplane going to SEMA from LA, and like just that narrative, that photojournalist style, was really good. And it was, good photos, good writing, and it's just something that I could only dream of doing, Yeah. And that's kind of what I really pursued.
Sure. Well, it's interesting too that you talk about Motorhead, because obviously, like, the U.S. automotive print industry is, in trouble a little bit. Like, the magazines are getting thinner. There's more ads. It's just the nature of the game. But, obviously there's really great online publications like Mike's, Moto IQ or Speed Hunters or, Jalopnik or whatever. But, like, these Japanese magazines they're doing print at this whole other insane level. Like, every time you pick up a copy of Motorhead, it's like a piece of art. Like, the paper, everything about it, like the way it smells is different, and like you want to treat it with respect. Like, do you think that there's a chance for that kind of a resurgence for the U.S., or is it just like a specific, like, only the Japanese have the patience to do this kind of thing?
I feel like it's not really. It's not that the Japanese appreciate print more than we do. It's just the internet is not as it's just not as used in Japan. Everyone, I still see, like, on the subway, everyone's just using those flip phones still. Like, what kind of website or what app are you going to run on those things?
Sure. And
there was a lot of times where Dino, one of the other, or he's the editor-in-chief of Speed Hunters, we'll be hanging out, ground zero, like actual car culture, where these trends start. We're meeting these guys with the cool cars, and they don't realize that they're the trendsetters, but they are. And we're basically showing them how to use Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Like, people all over the world model after these guys, they're the N style guys. They have, like, I don't know, it's just like a weird way of doing things that they like to do to their cars, street drifting and, going to grassroots drift events and just painting their cars the way they want to paint them and, with the wheels they want to run. But they don't realize they're trendsetters, but, like, all these people are copying them.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And they don't even, like, they didn't even know about social media. Like, I took this picture where Dino and I were showing these guys Instagram, and everyone was on their phone like, oh, so this is Instagram. Okay, let's all sign up at the same time as, like, a team. So, like, it's not by design. I feel like it's just one of those things. Like, print is doing so well there just because it's still a major medium in terms of, like, getting your car culture stuff. In the U.S., I feel like there's definitely a resurgence, and I feel like 000 magazine is a perfect example. I just shot the cover of issue 2, which I'm really excited about. And I mean, you want to talk about premium? It's $1,000 for 4 issues.
And for those of you who don't know, 000 is a Porsche magazine. It's only Porsche. and it's the gentleman that used to run Panorama, which was the Porsche Club magazine, which was excellent.
Yeah.
So now it's a special other, like, yeah, again, super expensive subscription, but it's like,
Well, it's $1,000 for the premium hardback issue, and it's 4, and it comes in a case and everything. And I literally signed. There's a signature in every one, like it's a lithograph that's
wow.
slipped into every single issue. So I recently I signed 500, and it's just all over every single surface in my house, and I signed them, and they should be good. But the normal subscription is $250.
Yeah.
But still, you're basically paying for this book. It's not a magazine anymore.
Exactly.
Don't call it a magazine, even though it's called 000 Magazine.
Sure.
It really is a book, and it's over 260 pages each, and it's really, really curated. So, just like Motorhead, I've been working with Motorhead for a couple of years. Actually, I'm doing Gumball Rally with Motorhead this year, which is pretty cool. But it's so premium. You go to every single Japanese shop, like HKS Kensai or I don't know, Spoon or anywhere, you go there, they have a magazine rack, and they have literally every single issue of Motorhead. They don't throw it away. It's just to keep,
Right.
It's not like a newspaper or whatever. It's not, and the thing is, it's not, I feel like it's not more expensive than a lot of other Japanese magazines. Japanese magazines in general are just expensive.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not like here in the U.S. where you can get a subscription for whatever, $10 or free sometimes,
Yeah, I think I think I paid like $6 for 2 years of Road and Track at one point.
Right.
And I think they're still sending it to me, and I've got to re-up, but I just keep forgetting because it keeps showing up at my door. It's a weird model. It's a very weird model.
The guy who runs it, Takada-san, he's just so passionate about cars. It's insane. Yeah. I mean,
we accidentally met him at SEMA, and it's just him and a crew of guys came by. We were recording this car stories in the Ring Brothers Winnebago up in the upper South Hall, deep back corner of the show. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of wanders in and is looking at stuff, and we're like, oh hey, how's it going? I didn't realize I didn't recognize him. I've never seen him before. And we exchange cards, and I'm like, oh my god,
yeah, you're the guy.
Whoa. Please come and do the show, please.
I just wish I had as much energy as that guy.
Oh yeah,
he's so into cars and every single aspect of car culture. So from Motorhead, he's made Amehead, which is American Motorhead, which is just focused on American cars. But he still does American cars in Motorhead. Mm-hmm. And he has Pawhead, which is Porsche magazine, mm-hmm. For basically the Motorhead Porsche magazine, because they get so much Porsche content.
Sure.
It's just crazy what they've done.
Yeah.
And I can't read a lick of the magazine, but I just love looking at every single.
Oh yeah.
All the layout, just the way they do it, and on top of that, the video content they do. Mm-hmm. How about that 962 and that Jaguar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The just driving on the street, going to the convenience store.
Yeah.
Just to get some instant noodles or something.
I remember when that came out. That was and having been around quite a few 962s and stuff, that's no small task. Those things do not like to just kind of putter along at normal speeds. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, I think they were overheating.
Oh sure.
And, whatever, but. Just the fact that they do that, they mm-hmm. just do it, just to do it. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah. So I guess transitioning a little bit, let's talk a little bit more about Speed Hunters, because Speed Hunters is a really unique place on the internet in terms of car content. I mean, you guys cover probably more stuff from Japan, deep, I think the first place I heard about Dajiban was you guys, or which is you guys cover everything, but it's stuff that nobody else is doing. Kind of how did Speed Hunters get started, and kind of how did you guys decide to take it in that direction?
So Speed Hunters is owned by Electronic Arts.
Okay.
And it's basically the brainchild of my friend Rod Chong. And he started it with the guy who runs Motor Mavens, Antonio mm-hmm. Alvendita. And they basically just had this budget from Electronic Arts, with the Need for Speed brand, to create something amazing, you know, to create something great, and just for them to own a piece of car culture, I guess, you know, like just
Okay.
it's a place, a one-stop shop for everyone, and it's free. And I guess what's crazy to me is it shouldn't exist, really, you know, like it's kind of like for the Need for Speed brand, and we support the Need for Speed brand, but we pretty much can cover anything we want. You know, there's no guidelines. I literally just go out, and wherever I am, I just kind of put it out on social media. Hey, what's going on tonight? Like, what's the cool meets? Wherever I am in the world. And it just happens. Some, you know, like real car culture happens, and then that's what I do is I just report on it.
Yeah.
You know, like it goes back to the whole Japanese thing where I was telling you about those guys sitting around, you know, getting on Instagram. Other people want to know about them.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
You know, and I want to tell their story. And that's the same way with every kind of car culture, every location, I guess, around the world that they're into cars. Like, for example, I just a couple of years ago, I did this story on Barbados. You know, it's like just this tiny island. You wouldn't think that there's any car culture at all there. But I did this crazy story where I went on this meet with these guys, drove all the way all around the island with just a bunch of Integra Type Rs and, you know, R34 GTRs. And,
Oh, wow.
like the craziest cars that I couldn't even get. We couldn't even get in the U.S., you know, like, and they're just enjoying them, and they're just living that whole dream. Like, you know, they're on the Japanese Wangang kind of thing around this tiny island. They only have one freeway that they could pretty much race on, but they're just doing it, you know?
That's awesome.
And it's like everyone knows what everyone else is running. Like, oh, how much horsepower this guy's running, this, whatever. And it might be a small part of the culture from the island, but it's just so crazy to me that exists, you know? Like,
Yeah.
It's like they drive on the right-hand side of the road, so it's perfect. Sorry, left side of the road. So they're
It's like a former British colony or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's all right-hand drive cars, and it's just so crazy that something like that exists. You know, and that's the thing is I reported on that story, and I think the feedback was pretty good. But like I try to do that with everywhere, you know, or every kind of event. Like, for example, Gottville. I feel like Speed Hunters has a lot to do with blowing that event up.
Yeah.
You know, just because it's just this crazy track day. It's just a normal track day, really. You know, but the fact that 75,000 people show up out of the woods or out from all over the world just to check out this track day event is insane. But like you got these cars out there. We have this thing. I think Patty, our Irish speed hunter, and Sean Klingelhofer, who used to contribute to us. I think they did this article like the minimum requirements to have a Gottville car, which is at least one engine, so that you can have two engines, right? It has to have a rear radiator.
Of course.
Yeah, it has to have quadruple, you know, digit horsepower. You know, like all this stuff. It has to all-wheel drift, and it can't have the same engine manufacturer as the original.
Of course, yeah.
You know, like so, all this stuff. It's like the rules for a Gottville car, and it's so cool that exists because the crazy Scandinavian winters. You know, like
Oh, yeah.
what are you going to do for however many months out of the year? You're just going to sit in your garage or basement and just tinker on this crazy car.
Exactly.
And you have one event to destroy it, you know, or a couple events. But it got to the point where I saw people run out of tires. They had to de-stud their winter tires one by one. Like they're just taking the screwdriver and taking out the studs so they could go out for another session and just destroy their winter tires, which is just so crazy. Like that, it's so crazy that exists. I mean, that's why. I mean, that's just my job, which is just so crazy. That's my job is to report on that.
Yeah.
Tell those stories.
Yeah, no, I look forward to seeing the Got Bill cars every year because it gets more ridiculous every year. Like, and you never think it can get more ridiculous, and then it does. I don't understand like where it's gonna stop. Like, it's incredible. One of the things that Speed Hunters covers is project cars for a lot of people, and you have one particularly well known and much beloved project car. It's a Datsun 240Z. You can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have 1970 240Z, number 2868 off the line.
Wow.
And I bought it on my 21st birthday, and for $3,000, which is just so crazy now.
Yeah, now they're going bananas.
And it was stock.
Well, especially the Series 1s, too, because they're all so rusty now.
Yeah, it was stock and pretty good condition. The shocks were completely blown. It was just riding on springs, basically. There was no fluid in the shocks. And I loved it. It was so it was so pure. Like I drove it and I brought it, showed my friends, and when they drove it, they're like, "Wow, like it's so cool." Like that's when it gave me that idea, like, wow, this really is a time machine. This car hasn't changed for whatever how many years, and you get into it, and it's the same experience as someone who just bought it and just drove it off the showroom floor. Like you get the same smells, you get the same feeling, and it's just so cool. I mean, like it's a little looser at that point,
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But that's the thing is I've spent the last 11, 12 years just kind of improving it, and making my own. And at the time, I think I had it for a week and I took it to the autocross, and everyone was kind of shunning me. I guess the Z guys. There was a lot of Z guys at the autocross at the time. I think it was like 6 or 7 guys.
Oh, okay.
Who would show up with their modified 240Zs, and we would all drive in this class. But they were shunning me for ruining, I guess, such a early model. But you know what? I made it my own, and I kept it on the road, and it's evolved so much. Now, I feel like it's gone to the point where it was like closer to a time attack, autocross car, and then now I'm kind of bringing it back to a street car. I'm getting vintage air installed into it, so
very nice.
It's going to have heat and AC.
Which cannot be overstated in Southern California with a classic car. Both are wonderful.
Well, the thing is, I raced it for 8 years. I blew up the original motor, and it wasn't the original motor. It was a swapped 2.8 liter. So I just kind of I binned it.
Sure.
And put in a inline 4 SR20 DT turbo motor out of a Formula Drift car. Former Formula Drift car.
Sure.
And, I just kept it on the road.
Low miles. Easy driving. Yeah.
And it's just a fun car. I mean, I use it actually to do my job, which is I use it as a camera car. And it's just so... It's not perfect, And like meeting people like Magnus Walker made me feel good about my car having this patina, and all these... scratches and dings and whatever.
Oh, totally.
Like just it's gone to good use.
Yeah, and that's like super important. I think is people driving their classics. Like there was a long period, and I think there's obviously still a big group of people that are like, you can't drive it. It's a piece of history. But at the same time, like it's a car, and you gotta drive it. Like. I daily drive my classic, and I can't imagine going back to like something modern.
Yeah. My favorite thing I use it for is chasing drift cars at full speed.
Nice.
Like where they actually are drifting at their maximum potential. Maximum speed, and I'm just right up there with them. Right next to their door.
Nice.
Because I've been following drifting for so long, I know exactly how these guys will behave or how much I can trust them, whatever. So I get close. I mean, like I get close to the point where I think I'm going to hit them every time. And it's super fun with that Z.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably amazing. Like And then what other kind of project cars do you have or have you had that kind of stand out?
So currently I have 3 project cars. I have the 240Z. I have a 996 Turbo that I call my German muscle car,
Which is apt.
Yeah, so it's just fun, it's scary, and it's one of those things with the whole horsepower thing. Like, you don't really appreciate low horsepower cars until you have a really high horsepower car.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's just dangerous. It's scary. It's too fast.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to like go and crush a continent, like it's great.
Yeah.
But trying to drive it around town and like deal with all the potential there, it's sketchy. Like,
I brought I've always wanted that car. I know it's like the black sheep bastard child Porsche.
yeah. Well, the turbos are for a while now. I mean, secret's kind of out that those are a tremendous bargain because as long as you can deal with the headlights and the interior, like the motor is solid. Like nothing's going to happen to that.
Yeah, to me, it's a driver's car, and I just like cruising in it. And it's fast, but like I really appreciate driving slower cars now after having that. Just because, like, for example, I don't know if Magnus will like me saying this, but I handed him the keys, and we basically went 130 miles per hour over that 6th Street bridge before they took it down.
That's pretty. I mean, that's like par for the course for that guy. Like, if he's not doing well over a buck, he's not happy.
Yeah, but I haven't gone fast at all except for on the track because I'm just too scared to.
Yeah, like it gets pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of driving slow cars, like I just got the 2017 Miata Club for a press loaner, and it's 155 horsepower. Like that's effectively nothing, but it's the most fun I think I've ever had in a car. Like it's absurd.
Yeah, I had a chance to drive the Fiat 124 Spider recently, and I was actually at a track day with my 996 Turbo, and I jumped in the Fiat. And the first thing out of my mouth, unfortunately, was like, oh, my God, this is so slow. But then again, I have to remember that it was, whatever, it's like 3.5 times less horsepower than my Turbo. But, man,
it's like literally half the weight.
Talk about fun, though.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, the fact that I could floor it pretty much all the way around Streets of Willow and just pin and just focus on my driving and focus on lines. Wow, just so much fun.
Yeah.
I just could not believe how much fun. And you're not scared.
No, because you're not doing like a million miles an hour. Like you're doing 55 and you come into a corner and you're practically like leaned over onto the door handle, but like nothing horrible is going to happen if it goes wrong.
Exactly. And that I guess that leads into my third project car, which is a FJ Cruiser. It's a 6-speed manual.
Whoa, okay. That's pretty rare.
And I drive pretty much, I feel like I drive 9/10s all the time on the street with that thing. It is just so fun because I could floor it literally everywhere, red line every single stoplight.
Sure.
And I'm going so slow that nobody thinks that I'm doing anything crazy,
Yeah.
And I'm heel toeing into every single corner in that thing. And it's just hilarious. It's just so much body roll because I have King shocks on it, for off-road.
Nice.
Because I use it to chase races like the Mint 400 and Baja 1000. But I just drive that thing on the street. I drove it here, actually. And it's just too much fun because I'm pushing it just driving around town.
Yeah.
And it's just, I love it. It's a blast.
That's awesome. And man, I can imagine. I've never even like seen one of the manual transmission ones. I take that back. The lady that runs the Toyota Museum drives a manual FJ Cruiser, which is awesome, first of all. But like, that's the only other one I'd seen. That's so cool. I saw driving into the museum this morning. I saw the Cayenne GTS, the first generation one, and I could tell the guy was shifting it himself. And I was just like, oh, I've always wanted to drive one of those.
Yeah, I was considering that as a family car. I feel like that would be a good family car.
Only the most practical family cars for Larry Chin.
I mean, unfortunately, there aren't any for sale at all, really, except for I looked. Okay,
sure.
like just last week, I looked. there's some for sale in Chicago. That's about it. It seems like.
So when they do come up, they're so expensive still. Like first gen Cayennes are worth effectively nothing at this point. Even the turbos are pretty cheap, but those ones have really held their value. I think just because they're so weird and
it's so crazy. Like I feel like that for me is a perfect family car. You know, I mean, what else could you want? You know, it's a V8 with a stick.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of room, which is just so crazy.
Get a muffler delete and a car seat, and you're good to go.
Honestly, it's perfect for shooting. The rear window comes up on the hatch.
Okay.
And there's a sunroof. Forget about it. I mean, I can hang out pretty much every orifice in that car and like, just take awesome pictures.
Awesome. So, like, how did you? I mean, did you have like a professional background in like learning photography, or is that something you kind of just picked up and started doing and then grew your skills kind of organically? Like, did you go to school for it, for example, or?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and it's photography. I feel like is one of those things that you just have to kind of pick up and do. You know, there's only so much you can teach. You could teach the basics. You could teach, you know, how to use a camera, but you don't even need that, honestly, to be a photographer.
Yeah.
You know, like
Not anymore. I mean,
yeah, a lot of people just ask me, you know, hey, what camera should I use, or what settings, whatever. I'm like, you know what, just use your phone. You know, forget about it. It's your camera that you have with you all the time. You know, and you can shoot all day with it, and it really forces you to become a good photographer because you're shooting at one focal length if you don't zoom in, and you're dealing with basically infinite depth of field. You know, like everything's in focus all the time, and it really forces you to focus on the subject, on your photography, and that's pretty much just what I did. Honestly, I just picked up a camera back in 2004. I picked up my first DSLR, a Canon Rebel XC, and I shot that for years. I shot with that for years. I went to Japan with it. I went to whatever, like Tokyo Auto Salon and this and that, and you know, first 2 years of Formula Drift, or 3 years of Formula Drift and D1 and just everything. You know, I went to sports car races with it. Long Beach Grand Prix I shot with that thing, and I mean, it was, for its time, it was good. But like now, when I look back at it, it's like, wow, it's crazy that I used this
5 megapixels. Yeah.
Well, this consumer camera, you know. But it doesn't matter, you know. Like I feel like, for example, the best. I can't say the best photograph, but one of my favorite photographs ever that I've taken was of Mad Mike's RX-7. I was chasing him in an E46 BMW at Rootskugen in Gottville in 2012, and that was with a Canon Rebel T3i.
Okay.
You know, totally, not even T3i. I think it was a T2i at the time without a flip-out screen. It was a completely consumer camera. And to this day, I feel like it's probably, you know, one of my most famous photos, you know, and the ones that I really like.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's just like this unique recipe, you know, of pretty much the most well-known drifter in the world at one of the most amazing events, you know, and E46 BMW, like it's attached to the front bumper. It's just one of those things. Photography, you just have to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
The best thing, for like what I always say is, hey, I'm taking better pictures than you, not because I'm better. It's because, like, a lot of times
It's
I'm
maybe
there.
a little bit that.
No. like when you're actually there in front of it, you know, when you're paying your way, when you're saving up your pennies, when you're, you know, that's what I started with, you know, like I basically paid my own way to all these events overseas and all around the U.S., sleeping on floors. You know, there was even one point where I was helping like a couple guys trailer their cars across country for Formula Drift. You know, I was helping the teams because I couldn't afford to fly out to the events, but I wanted to get to the events to photograph them. You know, so like it was to that point. I did anything and everything to get myself in front of that situation. I just tell people, you just can't shoot from your couch. You know, you just can't. You actually have to go out there and do it. And like that's what I did. Every single waking moment, I was out there. I was shooting. I was going to meets. I was doing everything I can to get myself in front of that situation and take as many pictures as I can. And I think the key was like I kind of got in at the right time when social media was kind of picking up and
definitely.
everything. And you know, I was just publishing, whatever. It could be my own website, it could be whatever, some ding dong's website. Like it didn't matter. Like I wanted my pictures out there. And honestly, like I just couldn't imagine that I would be in this situation. Like I feel like this job shouldn't exist, really. I just take pictures of cool cars. That's it. It's so simple and cool people. You know, like next week I'm going to Grid Life, which is I feel like the American Godville.
Yeah,
and
that's really blowing up. That's been really interesting too.
Yeah, and it's a such a cool thing. It's a track day, car festival, but they also have like legitimate musical performances. You know, and I feel like that's just such a good weekend for anyone. You know, like you go there, listen to some good music, listen to some whatever, just have fun, you know, party, but also enjoy cars.
Yeah,
you know, like it's an open paddock environment. You can meet, you know, professional drivers, or you can just check out these garage builds. You know, like last year I went, I saw this awesome 510, this Time Attack 510, and the guy fitted this like real Ferrari 458 GT3 race car wing on this 510.
Whoa.
Yeah, like I mean, but like tastefully, you know, and just that kind of stuff. It's just so crazy. I mean, it's powered by a EcoBoost like motor. Or Pontiac. I don't know.
The EcoTech.
EcoTech motor. And because guess what? That's what was available, and that's like the essence of the whole like Godville. Build what you can, you know, in your garage, and then put a bunch of parts together, and it turns out to be the craziest car. It's so cool. And dude is camping with this cool car, camping on the side of the track. You know, you wake up, go Time Attack, whatever, party at night, go to sleep in your tent, and do it all over again. Like that's what's so amazing about these events. And guess what? I'm out there. Grid Life hired me to take pictures of the event. I have no direction at all. I'm just out there just having fun, hanging out with friends, taking pictures, which is just so crazy to me. I seriously feel like it shouldn't exist, but lucky for me it does.
Yeah, right on. It's really interesting too. You're talking about like, you know, like garage built stuff. Like it seems to me, and especially like I think SEMA is a good example of this, is like you see these cars that have these like astronomical budgets and all these crazy resources. And a lot of the times the stuff that comes out of somebody's like personal garage that they've had to like scrounge stuff for ends up being way cooler and way more interesting. It's just, I always think it's really interesting when people, especially, you know, people of a certain older generation start to talk about how, you know, oh, like, well, kids aren't into cars anymore. And, you know, we're worried about the state of car culture and all these, you know, millennials don't want to buy cars and stuff. And it's like, if you like, you open up your eyes or you pay attention, you go to an event or something, you see like things are kind of better now than they ever were. Like the access is insane.
Yeah, the access is insane, and the manufacturers are really helping too with the whole horsepower wars.
Yeah, for sure,
going on, and then you got
well, and so many of these cars are affordable too,
right?
Which is like,
I mean, yeah, it's so crazy. Like I said, you know, like the Fiat or the Miata, or even just the GT86 or FRS, the Toyota 86. It's so pure and it's so fun to drive, and it's really affordable. And I feel like that's like something like that. It's perfect daily driver. You know, you don't need much horsepower, and you know, you just drive, you know, 910s everywhere.
There you go.
Like, you're just going through the gears, and everyone thinks you're just driving normal.
What are some photographers that are kind of out there working, doing stuff that you think are really doing a killer job right now? Like whose photos get you super excited, like at this point?
You mean in terms of the photography world, or?
I mean car photos, I guess. Let's just like keep it a narrow focus, but like who else is doing stuff that like that you really enjoy, like their work? Like, you know, let's shine a spotlight on some cool people.
So I'll be honest with you. I feel like looking at all these other guys, I feel like a lot of these guys are so much more talented than me to the point where I can never get to that point, but I have to overcompensate with cooler subjects and just honestly being out there more,
Sure.
shooting more things and giving myself a higher chance to be better than these guys. I work along with guys like Camden Thrasher, who I think is honestly the best at like the whole, shooting natural light and shooting what's in front of you, just because of the amount of time allocated into producing photographs. I feel like his quality is a lot higher than most other people, including mine. And then you got people like Alex Wong, Emotive Image, same thing. Just sees things in a different way and has a higher level of talent, which allows him to produce, just those amazing photographs in a shorter period of time.
Sure.
And then, there's a lot of people that I work closely with in terms of video too. It really comes hand in hand, like Will Rogue and people like my really good friend Lindbergh, who was actually my best man at my wedding. He's really good, but he hasn't been shooting car stuff as much. But anytime he picks up a camera, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Same thing, it's just that raw talent that I see, that I just from experience, like from the technical side, like when I'm placed into this situation where the conditions are right, light is good, car's good, and then I shoot the photo, it's going to be a good photo. But I could see that a lot of these guys that I follow just see it in a different way, that I just didn't even see, which is just so crazy to me. But there's I envy a lot of the off-road photographers too.
Oh yeah.
Like my buddy Jason Zandorski, he's amazing because with off-road photography, it's not important to, it is important to, know your technical skill and know, just have experience around photographing cars, but it's that immense knowledge of the terrain and of getting to these places, like just this whatever mile 800 of Baja 1000 or whatever,
Sure.
Just getting to that point at the right time with the right car coming by is impossible.
Yeah.
But somehow people like him make it work, which is just go out, look for this water crossing, or go out, look for this amazing scene during sunset with your car that you're following. It's impossible. It just doesn't, I couldn't even begin to do that, but he's out there doing that. And then of course I'm doing the cheater way by shooting from a helicopter or whatever. But that's the point. That's the only way I could stand out, is by attrition, I guess. I don't know, numbers.
Let's face it. You're just not ready to take a rattlesnake bite to get a photo of this trophy truck.
Exactly.
You're not committed to the cause.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is what people don't see is the everything. I guess the worst part of my job, I always say, is the traveling. It's just so tough. It's just gives me anxiety.
Oh yeah, because flights to Asia, that's no joke. Flights to Sweden, also no joke.
Forget flights to Asia, flights to anywhere.
Yeah.
Really. It's just, it gives me anxiety having take the camera on board, and then
sure.
sometimes the people at the gate get really mad at you and this and that. It's just, it could ruin your day. One whatever camera body dropped, one lens dropped, or one this or what that, one missed flight can ruin your day.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come out here on a Tuesday morning, brave traffic in your always 10/10 FJ Cruiser, to sit down and talk to me. It's really, really cool. It's very nice to kind of get a peek behind the curtain at how you do what you do, because certainly I am, and I know I speak for James too. We're big fans of your work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
If people wanted to find you on the internet, assuming they haven't already, which would be pretty weird, because you're everywhere. Again, omnipresence. Where would they go to find your stuff?
So I have my personal website, which pretty much has most of my favorite shots that they can check out in 4K. It's LarryChenPhoto.com.
Okay.
And, you can follow me on Instagram also. Same thing, Larry Chen Photo, but spelled with F-O-T-O-S, or photo, no S. But, you can find my stuff on my personal website, Instagram, and, of course, Speed Hunters.
Excellent.
Yeah, is where everyone submits to, I guess, all my friends.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm psyched. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing next on Speed Hunters. It's one of my check every day kind of things. So I'm really pumped. If you guys want to find out more about the Petersen Museum, which again you're here listening to this, so I assume you already have or you already do. It's petersen.org. That's Petersen with 2 E's. Facebook is Petersen Museum. Instagram is Petersen Museum. Twitter is Petersen_museum because somebody was terrible at their job many years ago. And and if you want to find James, he's not here, but we'll show him a little respect. We'll give him a little shout out. It's No Braking. That's NOBRAKING, and he's that on all things. So stay tuned. We'll be back at you next Tuesday with a completely different human. It could be literally anybody. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. And that's what makes it fun. So until then, make sure you like us, subscribe, review, etc. And we'll see you then. Thanks.